Good morning, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. I am Brian Nemhauser. You can find me on Twitter at Hawk Blogger. And we got a treat for you this morning. This is a rare opportunity to talk to one of the best in the business at what he does, and somebody who knows a little bit about one of the newest Seahawks, Byron Murphy. Let me bring on to stage here Texas High School Coaches Association State Coach of the Year, a nominee for the College Football Hall of Fame, and back-to-back state title winner, Coach Claude Mathis. Coach, thank you so much for taking some time out of your day to talk to us. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on the show this morning, especially to talk about a great one like Byron Murphy.
Yeah, well, we're excited to do that, and I gotta ask you, I think I saw that the state title game score was 74-14. Is that the right score?
Yes, that's the correct score, man. Our kids play light out, man. That lights out. Our kids did a fantastic job. Our coaching staff did a phenomenal job in coaching, and our whole community there was supporting us, and our administration, the whole school district was there. It was wonderful things, but our did put that many points on the board, and our defense did play well.
Well, as a Seahawk great once said, Richard Sherman, sounds like it was not a matchup, it was a mismatch. So quite a game. Quite a game. Congratulations on all the success. And
thank you.
You know, you started out in college. I mean, you were a pretty accomplished running back. You even spent a little time in the league with Minnesota. Talk to us for a second just about, your experience as a football player and how that's helped you as a coach.
Well, I've had a fabulous, tremendous college and high school and NFL career. I mean, it was wonderful, man. God has really blessed me to be able to play a sport that really put me in a position to be a coach right now, because I was able to fall back on my degree once I was injured in the NFL. And, it's just one of those things where I was very blessed. I had great family support and everything, but college really helped me get to this point because I had some great mentor coaches in high school that I really looked up to. And, Trent Gregory was Coach Cron and Coach Wayne Mahaffey. I mean, those are all great guys. Franklin Jones were all great coaches to help get me to the point I am at right now. And, it's one of those things where I'm happy to go back and help our generation out, especially our kids, man, because I love the game of football so much, man. And I'm just very blessed.
Well, if I remember right, one of the first time you won a state title, you had a couple of your sons on the team. Is that right?
That's correct. That is correct. I won my first one with my three of my boys were on the team, and I won my second one with one of my boys on my team. So I had twins. My twins graduated, went off to college, and my youngest one was still on the staff with me. And he has two. So, and my oldest one has two as well. So, it was fun. It's a great experience, and I wouldn't trade it for nothing in the world.
That's amazing. As a father myself and a football fan, I can just imagine that must have been a lot of different emotions going through that season and then seeing that happen. So congratulations for having that happen.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Now, you mentioned you were a running back. We talked about that, and you and I had a conversation a little bit about a moment where you played as a scout team QB and gave Byron Murphy a little shake. I want to play for you something. Hopefully you can hear this. Let me know if you can.
Okay.
What Byron had to say about this. Byron, knowing that we were going to talk today, I've been doing a little research. Yeah. And I dug in, and somebody from your past told me a story, and I need you to confirm whether it's true or not. This person said they embarrassed you. They shook you as a running back when you were playing defensive line in Texas. This was actually at DeSoto. Said he was playing scout team quarterback, and he shook you very smoothly. His name was Coach Claude Mathis. Is that a true story?
No, it's not true. No.
He's coming on the show tomorrow, so we're going to hear from him too.
No, I don't remember that. I don't recall it.
So, Coach, you got to help me out here. Who's right? Who's telling the truth?
I'm right. Him and Shamar would never tell the truth. They're on that right there. they're that good. But I did get him one day at practice. I did slip through him one day at practice, and I started talking trash to him and Shamar. Boy, I swear to God, after that they was on me like you know what. So, but it was on that one time thing. Trust me, they were that good, and he's that good. So it never happened again.
Well, that's definitely something you'll be able to tell stories about for a long time. So, talk to us a little bit about Byron Murphy, and let's start with you came in. He was a junior, right? He'd already been a couple years. You came back to DeSoto. Am I getting the timing right?
Yeah, when I came back, he was a sophomore when I got back there. He was going into his junior season, so I had spring ball with him and everything. And he's one of those kids that you saw potential, you saw greatness, and he proved every bit of it. I had heard the history. Had played a little linebacker, and I heard he could play a little running back too as well. But we just thought that he was great at defensive line because he played a little defensive line there as well as a slash linebacker. And we thought that he could be a really great defensive lineman, and he proved us all right.
So you came in and he had been mostly playing linebacker. Do you remember how big he was roughly at that point?
I want to say about 230, 225, somewhere there.
That's pretty. Yeah, that's a good size high school linebacker for sure, especially as a sophomore. And then what made you say, "Hey, let's look at this defensive tackle for a 230-pound kid"?
I think our defensive line coach Donald Miller was he's been a phenomenal defensive line coach. He's been with me since I've been here, and he's put out some great defensive linemen, and he noticed him as well, and he thought it'd be a great move to keep him there at the defensive line spot. After we looked at video, because we came in and we looked at video and we evaluated all the kids when we got there, and he was one of the kids that we're evaluating as well, and we just thought that it'd be a great move. I think that his upstock he was going to be able to gain more weight. He's going to be able to put more weight on it. He's quick, and he's very strong at the time a little bit. And I felt that, and I thought that because we had maxed out as well. So we thought that it would be a great move to transition him to the defensive line just because of his build and his body size. He's going to gain more weight. Plus, he can use his athletic ability as well on the offensive line, and that held true.
What kind of linebacker was he?
You know what? I saw him on video, and he was very athletic. That's one thing I couldn't say about Murph. He was very athletic and very smart, and you could tell he had the footwork and all and everything. But I just didn't see him as being a linebacker. I just saw him, at the defensive line, getting off blocks and causing havoc in the backfield, and causing quarterbacks giving them some little bit nightmares at night. So it worked out for us.
You talk about having a vision for him at defensive tackle, and you talk about being smart. Kid, he graduated and he came to college with an associate's degree. Graduated college in 3 years. Is he one of the smarter guys you've coached, and how do you think that affected his play on the field?
Well, Murph is very smart and intelligent. He's one of the smartest guys we've had, and we've had a bunch of them that come through DeSoto that's very smart, and he's one of them. And he was in the collegiate. He was. Sophomore year, I didn't see him every day. I see him every other day because he was in the collegiate, and that said a lot. So his junior senior year, I was finally able to get him every single day because it had worked out his schedule right. And once we got him every single day, I mean, he really blossomed and everything. But he was just a smart football player, man. He studied the game. He knew the game. Coach Miller did a great job in teaching him the game at the high school level, especially. But to try to get him ready for college as well. So he understood what the lineman did. I mean, he understood the little tips that Coach Miller gave him, and he looked at their hand placement, if they're heavy in their stance, if not heavy in their stance, and he understood the player that they had to take on when he looked at video. So he was a very smart player and used his hands very well.
One of the things that I'm curious about with Byron is a lot of people said, "Hey, he's too small," and I think I saw a quote from you of a lot of coaches were telling you he's too small to play that position, and now you get the last laugh a little bit.
Right.
So, why did you see it differently than maybe other people did?
Because I was around him every single day. And if you look at a video of him, you will see a football player. And that's what kills me, man. College is so much they want to worry about the height, the weight. You got to be this certain amount of height and weight to play this certain position right here. And I think sometimes they forget, can the kid play? Is he a football player? And does he love the game? And that's what he did. He loved the game of football. He was a football player. And I didn't care about the height. I didn't care about the weight because I knew that once Byron got into a camp or got into college, he was going to prove everybody wrong because he was that good. Because he wanted to prove everybody wrong, but his motor never stopped. He was so strong. The leverage was unbelievable. His work ethic was unbelievable. And I think Coach Miller did a great job in helping him with his hands. Him and Brandon B. Tucker, when he's first coming out of college and when he was in high school, they helped develop him. And gosh almighty, man, it just pissed me off when those college guys came to there and said it was too short. And I think the Utah head coach came in there and it didn't take I probably want to say 10 seconds and he saw him and he offered him on the spot. And then once he saw him and offered him, it took off because at the time, and it's still at the time, Utah is great for defense. And he knows football. That head coach really knows football. And it was a blessing for Byron for him to offer him. And Byron was just wanting to prove everybody wrong, man, and he did.
Byron has been compared a lot because of his body type, his quickness to Aaron Donald, and then people quickly they're like, oh yeah, but he's not Aaron Donald. I talked to Byron about this yesterday. He's like, I welcome that comparison. I hope to be not only as good as Aaron, I hope to be better than Aaron. I'm curious, is there a player that comes to mind when you think of Byron Murphy? 'Cause I got a favorite comparison, but I want to hear if you've got one that comes to mind for you when you watch him play.
I mean, you got to think of that. I think I want to say Harrison that played for Chicago Bears, defensive lineman. I mean, I played against him as well, coached against him as well. But you can't help but make comparison to Aaron Donald when you see Byron just because of his stature and his build and his size, and that's who I think. I mean, of course, I've seen Harrison play too as well, but it's probably a couple of more guys out there you can think of at the time. I mean, trying to think of the defensive lineman that was at the University of Miami that played in the league so long, that was so good, that had dominated. I think he played at oh my God, the Bucks for a while too as well. I just can't think of his name right now, but
Warren Sapp
to him as well. There you go. Warren Sapp too as well. So I just think he has a tremendous career and uplift behind him. But those are the guys that I think of.
Yeah, do you remember Geno Atkins, Cincinnati Bengals defensive lineman? Does that come to mind at all?
Yes, I do. Yeah. There's another comparison. Yes, I do. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a guy that reminds me a fair amount of Byron as well. Obviously, any of those would be great. What do you think? Going to the league is a whole nother deal. Do you think that there's going to be parts of that Byron will take a little bit longer to acclimate to, or do you think that they played him a lot at nose tackle at 0 at Texas? I think Seattle's going to play him a lot at 3 tech and maybe allow him to be a little bit more penetrating than he was at Texas. I'm trying to figure out. I think we're all trying to figure out. Maybe he was in some ways limited by where he was played at Texas, and he might actually be more productive once he gets into the league. I'm kind of curious your thoughts, if you have any thoughts there.
I think it doesn't really matter where they put him at. It's just because of his work ethic and his ability to pick up schemes and learn, and he wants to be the best. So I think he's going to be one of those guys that's going to be in the film room a lot. He's going to be those guys who want to stay after practice and work on his craft. He's going to be a guy that wants to stay around as a position coach to understand every little piece and every little, edge that he can get when it comes to those guys up front, especially going to go against some great Pro Bowlers up front on the offensive line. So it doesn't matter to me. It doesn't really matter where they play him up front. He's going to be that good just because of his work ethic and his tremendous effort. And it's one thing that you can't turn off with him is his motor. It never stops.
There was another Seahawk defensive tackle that actually the last time the Seahawks spent a first-round pick on a defensive tackle, he was a DeSoto grad. Name was Marcus Tubbs.
Yes, it was.
Do you recall Marcus Tubbs?
I do remember Marcus Tubbs. I was not there when he was there. I think I got there 2 years after he left. but I do remember Marcus Tubbs. I know that he was really dang good. He was at the University of Texas as well, so you couldn't do nothing but hear more about Marcus Tubbs. And when he got to the NFL as well, so that was brought up at his draft party when we was all there, and I didn't think about that. I had another guy that thought about it. That Andre Gosa was telling me that Marcus Tubbs was the last time they took a defensive tackle was from DeSoto. So I thought that was pretty cool. And Marcus Tubbs had a great career. So I'm hoping the same thing for Murph.
Yeah. Another player that I think played with Byron is just signed with the Seahawks this year, Laviska Shenault. Is that he looks confused?
Yeah, I didn't know Shenault had signed it. So he just when did this happen? I didn't know
this just happened like I don't know, a few weeks ago, a month ago at most. It's been pretty recent.
Real? Wow.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I'm glad. Wow, that's awesome. That is awesome.
Yeah. So they were
Shenault.
teammates, right?
Yeah, they know each other. They know each other a little bit. I think Shenault might have been a freshman. He might have been a freshman when he came when I think when Byron was a senior. But yeah, we definitely know Shenault for sure.
Anything Seahawks fans should know about him and his style?
Hey, he's a go-getter. He loves the game too as well. Big body receiver that can catch the ball very fast. Have a lot of confidence in him, man. That's really good to hear. But they're getting another great player when it comes to him. I can tell you that right now.
That's great. All right. Well, last question for you, Coach. So we talked about you winning the title back-to-back years, and Byron Murphy had broke Von Miller's school record for sacks back in the day, and I think I saw Kalen Abrams now broke that record again, and with 23.5 sacks this year. Talk to us a little bit about Kalen Abrams. Where is he in his high school career, and what do you see for him?
Well, you know what? He reminds me of he's going to be an edge rusher. I do believe, especially when he picks up some more weight. Very athletic, very smart. I was talking about him this morning too. I want to say Rivals or somebody like that because his get off is so fast, and he times his snaps and he's very smart. He uses his hands very well, working with Coach Miller. Just quick, has learned different kinds of moves, especially at playing that position right there. Just committed to TCU on Sunday, and he has a great future. I'm excited about him. He's been a great leader right now for our football team, which we need, and can't wait to see him play this year because he plays against the best, and it doesn't matter which tackle you put in front of him. You can't block him one-on-one, and that's facts. And it's going to be exciting to see him play again this year, but his future is very bright.
So, goal for you and the squad? You going for back to back? When's the last time that's ever been done in Texas?
I want to say in 2019. I want to say 2019 and 2020 was Westlake, and I think the team after Westlake was Allen when they had Kylie Murray. So Austin Westlake is the last team to do it, and it's funny you asked me that because I want to know myself. And our chances of doing that. It's going to be pretty hard. Teams are going to be coming out to us like they did this past year, but at the same time, I like our chances as well.
All right, Coach. I don't want to keep you. I know you got kids to teach and a lot of coaching to do. Anything that I didn't ask you that you think Seahawks fans should know about Byron Murphy, about Laviska, anything else that you think we should know?
Well, I think you're going to get a great player in both of those guys, and Byron Murphy family, they're excited, man. They're going to be something loud at the Seahawks game as well as the Visca's family and everything. But Byron is a dude, man. I'm telling you guys are going to enjoy him. He's going to represent the community with great class in the Seahawks organization. And I just think they got one of the picks of the draft right now. So I want you guys to, it's loud there too as well. So he really is going to love that because he's used to that too as well. So, but they're going to enjoy him, man. They really are. And I think they're going to have a guy that's going to be in the backfield a lot and be able to stop the run. So you guys got a great player.
Amazing. Everybody, that is Coach Claude Mathis. Thank you, Coach, so much for taking the time this morning. We're super excited to have Byron on and on the team, and hopefully we'll be able to share some of his success with you going forward. And good luck. Good luck on going back to back, and congrats on all the accomplishments so far.
Appreciate it, Brian. I love being on your show, man. And good luck to you guys, man. And hopefully I can be up there and watch a couple of games myself.
Anytime. You let me know. I'll get you hooked up. All right.
No doubt.
Everybody, that is
Appreciate it.
Coach Claude Mathis. Thank you so much, Coach. That's got to get you psyched, folks. I mean, this is a guy that's helped make Byron Murphy who he is. Gives us a little bit of insight into what he saw as a 230-pound linebacker and sometimes running back, moving him to defensive tackle. And you know, the DeSoto is, for folks that don't know, DeSoto is just a storied high school football program in the state of Texas and in the nation overall. And Coach Mathis has done things that haven't been done there before. I mean, he is the coach of coaches at one of the best high schools in America for football. And, really good guy too, as you can tell. So I think some good things there. It's interesting that he was not aware that Laviska Shenault had signed with the Seahawks. Didn't have as much to say there. So kind of eager to hear and learn a little bit more. I'm curious if he and Byron will. I didn't have a chance to talk to Byron about that yesterday, but curious how that will work out for him. I can't say that I hate Warren Sapp as a secondary comparison to Byron Murphy. That was who Coach came to mind for him. He's thinking about, I think, undersized, like underheighted defensive tackles that are just disruptive. And can you guys imagine? I mean, we're hoping that he's a good defensive tackle and plays well. But what if he's more than good? What if he is an all-timer? That'd be fun, man. Well, I mean, for people that don't remember what Cortez Kennedy was like in the 90s, especially his defensive player of the year season, it was like watching Godzilla kicking over ant hills. I mean, he just blew through offensive lines, and one of the worst offenses in Seahawks franchise history kept that team from being successful, but nobody could do anything against that defense. Imagine getting defensive player of the year in Seattle, where you get no publicity. This was before the internet, really. There was no coverage at all. And your team was awful. Barely got any wins that year. For him to win Defensive Player of the Year, I'm just telling you, it was one of the most dominant defensive seasons I've ever watched. Personally, as much as I love Tez, I don't think he ever repeated that level of dominance. But that one year, holy moly, he made watching losing football fun. That's not easy to do. He was so good. He was so good. And as much as the Seahawks have had some disruptive players on the defensive line, they haven't had anyone close to that level of defensive talent. And one of the things that gets me excited is I talked about Devin Witherspoon not just being a good corner, not just being a guy that is, made a Pro Bowl as his rookie season, not a guy that can just be an all-pro. I mean, there's not that many all-pro corners, in Seahawks history even. I think Devin Witherspoon has Defensive Player of the Year potential. I really do. I think he can fill up. I think he can get sacks, fumbles, interceptions, touchdowns, lockdown coverage. I think he can be that kind of player. What if the Seahawks end up with 2? Let yourself dream for just a moment. What if the Seahawks have 2 Defensive Player of the Year caliber players on their roster? That'd be fun. That would be fun. And I think one of the things that's also cool about that is we already heard Mike McDonald's raising the bar for Devin Witherspoon. He reached out to him during the offseason and was kind of showing him some film where maybe Witherspoon was not playing his best ball and had room to grow. I think it's fantastic for Devin Witherspoon to have somebody who's going to push him help him see how he can be even better, show him details that maybe he wasn't being shown before. And then add into that Byron Murphy, who, I'm telling you, folks, you can look at this every way you want. He's smart, incredible athlete. He's strong. He's fast. He's motivated. He's confident. There just aren't a lot of people that come into the league with all the things that Byron. He's got a strong family, strong, network around him. He's had great coaching. There just aren't that many people like that are flops. So I really, every sign I'm seeing just reinforces the fact that we got a real one in Byron Murphy. Now, there was a super chat here from Garth Knight, one of our most generous super chatters. Thank you, Garth. He says, I'm stoked for Byron Murphy. I hate the comparisons to Aaron Donald, but the body is a doppelganger. I don't hate those comparisons. Byron Murphy doesn't hate those comparisons. So, I think it makes a very challenging expectation if you expect him to be Aaron Donald. I don't think that's fair. But I'm like, look, Frank Clark. Let's take Frank Clark. He was not a dominant player. It was not expected he was going to be a dominant player. He came in, had a very strong training camp for what was already a good defense. That was still LOB era defense. And his first year, he barely played. He really barely played that first year. And I think he had trying to remember, I think he had like 3 sacks. Let me just quick look it up. Yeah, he had 3 sacks as a rookie. All right. His next year, he had 10, and then 9, and then 13. So it can take some time. I'm not saying that Byron Murphy is going to come in as a rookie and be Defensive Player of the Year. I'm not saying he's going to come in as a rookie and be, Aaron Donald. I do think it is realistic to expect him to come in and end up being a starter, like split reps. I think that's realistic. I'm curious, and so I'm going to look this up. First, I'm going to mute and blow my nose because it's driving me crazy, and don't want you guys to have to listen to me like this. One sec. Sorry about that. So I want to go through. Let's look at some first seasons. Let's look at some first seasons of some of these dominant defensive tackles. All right. Aaron Donald. Let's start there since that's where the comparisons start. 2014, Aaron Donald came in to the Rams, had 9 sacks as a rookie. 9 sacks and 18 tackles for loss. So he was rookie of the year and he made the Pro Bowl. He did not win. He was not an All-Pro, which is kind of wild, but he was an All-Pro every year after. So it's interesting. Well, look at Aaron Donald's career. After his rookie year, after being Defensive Rookie of the Year, he was Defensive Player of the Year. Wait a second. Is that voting? Okay, hold on. I want to double check this. I see. Okay. So in his second season, he finished second in Defensive Player of the Year voting. His third year, he finished 4th. And then he won his first Defensive Player of the Year trophy in 2017 and then won it again in 2018. He basically was no lower than 5th in voting in Defensive Player of the Year for 7 years straight after his rookie year. So, he honestly didn't have that long of a career, all things considered. Retires when he's 32, 33. But his first year, 9 sacks. Let's look up Warren Sapp, since Coach brought up Warren Sapp as a comparison. What did Warren Sapp do as a rookie? And by the way, Warren Sapp, 6'2", 303 pounds. So not exactly 6 feet like Byron Murphy, but shorter than typical. 1995, as a rookie, Warren Sapp had 3 sacks. All right. 3 sacks as a rookie. And you should know Warren Sapp also did a little running out of the backfield. 2003, he had 2 touchdowns. Is that right? Yeah, he had 2 touchdowns. I think these came as he caught 2 touchdowns. He did not rush for 2 touchdowns, but he had a little offense to his game as well. But, he had 3 sacks as a rookie. Wasn't voted rookie of the year. He didn't have any awards. Second season, he had 9 sacks. And he didn't have any awards that year either. Third season, 10.5 sacks, second team All-Pro, Pro Bowler, 7 sacks in his 4th season, second team All-Pro. And then 1999, his 5th season, he had 12.5 sacks, 13 tackles for loss, and was the defensive player of the year. So it wasn't until his 5th season that he really reached his height. And honestly, the next season, year 2000, he had 16.5 sacks, which is just absurd for an interior defensive lineman. But, he had 3 sacks as a rookie. So if Byron Murphy comes in here and is, takes a little time, I don't think that's crazy. And we've seen a Hall of Famer, one of the best to ever do it, do the same thing. One of the other common comparisons for Byron Murphy is Grady Jarrett, who's 6 foot, 305 pounds. Very similar height and weight. As a rookie, Grady Jarrett had 1 sack, 4 tackles for loss. Okay. His second year, he had 3 sacks, 4 tackles for loss. His third year, he had 4 sacks and 15 tackles for loss. That's where he started to really blossom. He didn't even make the Pro Bowl until his 5th year, when he had 7.5 sacks and 12 tackles for loss. I think he'd been playing at that level prior to that, but did not make it. His 26-year-old season. I also want to call out here, I want to make sure I've got this correct. Byron Murphy's 21. Grady Jarrett was a year older when he started in the league. I don't love the Grady Jarrett comparison. I feel like that is a size comparison. And I think that also is people saying, hey, Byron wasn't that productive as a pass rusher at Texas in terms of he had 5 sacks. Let me look up if I can find this. Let's see. Let's see if I can find. If anyone else can find it, let me know. I'm looking up Grady Jarrett's pressure rate in college. I would love to see if we can find that. This would be at Clemson. I'm just pulling up a couple things. Let's pull up Grady Jarrett's college stats. If anyone can find Grady Jarrett's pressure rate in college, that'd be awesome. But let's look up Grady Jarrett's college stats. Played at Clemson. So, I mean, Grady Jarrett never had more than 2 sacks in a season in college. He had some tackles for loss, but I really don't think this is who Byron Murphy is. I really don't. I think people are doing it because of the size, and I think because they look at the production for Byron Murphy, who had like 5 sacks last year, and they're like, he wasn't that productive. And let's be honest. I did this comparison with Aaron Donald in college. I mean, the production that Aaron Donald had is off the charts, and Byron Murphy does not compare. Byron Murphy had 5 sacks last year, 8.5 tackles for loss. I mean, Aaron Donald was putting up obscene numbers in college. So I'm not thinking he's Aaron Donald. Let me just be clear. I would love that to be the case, but I do think Geno Atkins is possible. Curious if Geno Atkins, I'll look up him in a second, but I'm curious about his college numbers. How Geno Atkins was similar, to be honest. Geno Atkins, his senior season at Georgia had 3 sacks. His career high, he had his 2008 season, his junior year, he had 0 sacks. His sophomore year, he had 7.5. That was his career high. His freshman year, he had half a sack. He had 11 career sacks, Geno Atkins, in college. So I don't know. I mean, I think that's still the guy for me. That's the comp that I like. But I just think of Byron Murphy as different than Grady Jarrett. I shouldn't be trying to read while I'm talking to you all. But anyway, so that was Grady Jarrett. So as we said, his first year he had 1 sack, then 3 sacks. I think he was effective, but not necessarily right away. Let's look up Geno Atkins as a NFL player. 6'1", 300 pounds. That's the guy for me. Played for Georgia. And his rookie year, 3 sacks, 3 tackles for loss. He did have 14 quarterback hits. I think that's like a reasonable expectation for Byron Murphy his rookie year. A handful of sacks. If he goes more than 3 sacks, he's doing better than a lot of these guys did. By his second season, Geno Atkins had 7.5 sacks, 10 tackles for loss, and was a second team All-Pro and a Pro Bowler. By his third season, he had 12.5 sacks, 17 tackles for loss, and was a first team All-Pro defensive tackle. He would go on to get 1 additional first team All-Pro. He made the Pro Bowl, 6 more times. And he had roughly the same career length that Aaron Donald did. He retired after his age 32 season. But his general years, I mean, after his rookie year, he had a couple years where he had, 1 year he had 6 sacks, another year he had 3 sacks. But for the most part, you're talking 7.5, 12.5, 11, 9, 10. I think that's the guy that I think we should be really hoping that Byron Murphy can become. I think that's a realistic one, and he's going to be likely a Hall of Fame player. Curious if you guys have other comparisons, other folks you want me to look up relative to this. Here's a nice comment from one of our members, Michael Smith. Brian, always killing it with the interviews. You're the man, Brian. Thanks for all the great content. Well, thank you, Michael. Thanks for being a member. It is a great chance to join as a YouTube member. If you haven't already, click the link. It's pinned in the chat. It's also in the description of the video. And you can get part of the growing group as well. I would be crazy not to say like and subscribe. We are like a few dozen people away from getting to 10,000 subscribers. We're growing. So would love to have more subscribers and get to that 10K mark. Let's do a quick refresh. I'll tell you where we are right now with subscribers. We need 63 more subscribers to hit 10K. Let's get that done, folks. Michael Smith says he's excited to see Spoon and Murphy together. Hawks fan Matt Man says, and if Haynes can be Steve Hutchison, we're all set. I hear you, man. I hear you. I'm gonna do my best to see if I can get some time with Christian Haynes haven't been as fortunate on that front, but I would love to talk to him, love to talk to some of his coaches as well. So we'll see what we can do there. And then here's a comment from Phil. You have to tell me how to pronounce it. I'm gonna say Filipino Mad, but if it's something else, let me know. If Murphy can stuff the run, I don't care if he has 0 sacks as a rookie. The sacks will come. We can't wait on run D though. I think that's a great point. So everybody talks about Byron Murphy and Aaron Donald. And the thing that Aaron Donald wasn't, he was not the best run defender. I don't know if people really realize that. But I'm sure his I'm going to look it up. I'm guessing his grades were okay there. But Aaron Donald would jump gaps. He would get out of position. He would leave. Like the Seahawks ran against the Rams pretty well, even when they had Michael Brockers and Aaron Donald and a bunch of meat up the middle. I don't think he was the best run defender. Now, I look here at PFF and it's, the last 2 years he was in the 70s with his run grade. Every other year he's 86 or better. I mean, the fact of the matter is Aaron Donald is just a block beater. He would beat and defeat any block. And so whether it's run or pass, he was going to be defeating the guy in front of him. But I do remember he did have a little bit more trouble against the run. And Byron Murphy, I think that's going to be a strength of his game. I don't think that's something that you're going to 10 years from now say, well, he was a good pass rusher, but he struggled against the run. I think Byron Murphy is at least equally as good against the run, maybe better. And for a 3 tech, depending on how they play him, for a 3 tech to have played so much nose tackle in college and at his size and to have held up and to have helped Texas go from allowing 140 yards a game rushing to allowing 80 yards a game rushing in his final season, he was a huge part of that. And so I agree, that's a great comment that this is a guy that should come in and help shore that up right away. Let's take a look at the Seahawks for a second. Let's take a look at the Seahawks. I know it's probably painful for us all, but not a good defense in general, but run defense was not strong last year. And you're talking about Jaron Reed, Leonard Williams for part of the year, Mario Edwards. So you're basically trading out Mario Edwards for Byron Murphy. Cam Young was in there. Miles Adams. Mike Morris did not really play, but I'm talking about interior guys. There were, of the guys that played on the inside, Jaron Reed had a pretty surprisingly low grade against the run. Jaron Reed had a 53 grade against the run via PFF. Through his career, his best years, he was close to, like, he was above 65. He was like 66 to 69. But a lot of his career has been under 60 in run defense, for what that's worth. And then you've got Leonard Williams, who was a 70.9 run defense grade last year. And his run defense grades in Seattle improved dramatically. He was a 59 run defense grade in New York. He was a 72 in Seattle. And over the course of his career, he's always been at least a 66 and has been as high as mid 80s as a run defender. So he is a good, solid run defender. Mario Edwards, who was in there last year, he had a 59.8 run defense grade. Through his career, he's had some decent years as a run defender, generally around 70. Who else? Miles Adams. We talked about Miles Adams getting some play last year. I mean, he even played some nose tackle. And his run defense grade was 36.6. The year before, it was 45.7, then 51.2. So even though Miles Adams has been somewhat disruptive at times, as far as run defense, he has really struggled. He's been a good pass rusher. That's where he has shown some promise. His pass rush grades were, over 75. He had a 79 pass rush grade his rookie year, but he's about a 70 to 75 pass rusher, but really weak against the run. Now, why am I going through all this? Because let's say Byron Murphy comes in there and is immediately just a 70 grade. Now, remember, the grades for PFF, 60 is league average. That's like an average starter. All right. So if you're over 60, you're above league average as a starter. When you get up to 70, you're getting up to plus starter. Like, this is a quality starter, a good starter in the league. When you get over 80, you're talking about Pro Bowl. When you get over 90, you're talking about All Pro. Now, those are rough. Those are not exact, but that's roughly the way to think about it. So if you can get something close to a 70 run defense grade from Byron Murphy as a rookie, I think that'd be huge. It'd be a huge thing for the Seahawks. Curious what Jalen Carter did as a rookie, as a run defender. I know what he did as a pass rusher. He was a 69.4 run defense grade. So yeah, I think something along those lines would be pretty nice. I just can't get myself to stop thinking he's going to be more effective as a pass rusher early on than people expect. I think this guy's going to be a problem for opposing teams. I just do. So those are kind of a couple of the things that came up relative to Byron Murphy. And love talking to Claude Mathis today and getting a little bit of inside look there. Tomorrow we're going to have Mitch Levy on the show. Mitch in the morning is going to be back with us. Catch up with Mitch. It's been a little while, all the way since before the draft. He was the first, really on episode 3 that of Hawk Blogger Mornings. He was the first guest I had on. It's definitely time to have him back and talk a little bit of Seahawks. We'll probably talk a little Mariners too. I wouldn't be surprised. But would love to have people join tomorrow for that. Should be fun. And I think that we're into the point where, we'll see about guests. I'll definitely be bringing some more people on. But, there's a bunch of topics to start digging into. We're getting into some depth. Today, if you didn't know it, is the first day of rookie minicamp, and it is gorgeous. Gorgeous in Seattle today. Thank goodness. Byron Murphy's first introduction to the Northwest as a Seahawk will be on a day like today. It'll be in the mid 60s today. He'll be on the water. Hopefully it gives the right impression. So if you haven't already, please give the show a like, click subscribe. And if you haven't already, join as a YouTube member. The link is in the chat. It's also in the description of the video. And join as a patron, patreon.com/hawkblogger. The audio version of this podcast, as well as all the other Hawk Blogger Mornings, only available to patrons. And looking forward to posting this one in just a moment. So everybody, thank you for joining. Thanks for listening, and have a great day. A great day, as they say. I'm Brian Nemhauser. This has been another edition of Hawk Blogger Mornings.